A killer commits a murder. Then, instead of disappearing, he writes to the newspapers. He gives police information only the killer could know. He sends them a coded message. He gives himself a name. And then, he challenges them to catch him. That was more than 55 years ago. They still haven't. The Zodiac Killer. Northern California, December 20th, 1968. A secluded turnout on Lake Herman Road outside Benicia, known locally as a lover's lane. 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen were parked there on their first date. Sometime after 10 p.m., someone approached the car and opened fire. David was shot once, fatally, before he could get out. Betty Lou made it a short distance before she was shot 5 times in the back. No warning, no motive, no note. For 9 months, the case went cold. Then, on July 4th, 1969, Blue Rock Springs Park, just a few miles away. 22-year-old Darlene Farron and 19-year-old Michael Mageau were sitting in a parked car when a second vehicle pulled alongside them. A flashlight beam swept across their faces. Then, gunfire. Darlene died at the scene. Michael, hit multiple times, survived. Half an hour later, the Vallejo Police Department's phone rang. A man's voice, flat, unhurried, told the dispatcher exactly where to find the bodies. Then he said something the department wasn't expecting. He said he'd done it before. December. The 2 teenagers on Lake Herman Road. That was him too. He had just announced himself. He was about to give himself a name. August 1st, 1969. 3 newsrooms, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, each open an envelope. Each contains a letter taking credit for the Vallejo shootings, with details never released to the public. And each contains something else. 1/3 of a cipher. 408 symbols in total, split 3 ways. The writer's demand is simple. Print all 3 parts on the front page, or he goes on a killing spree that weekend. 408 symbol block, filling the screen. The paper's printed. The cipher goes public. The FBI can't break it. Military cryptographers can't break it. A week later in Salinas, a high school teacher named Donald Hardin and his wife Betty sit down at their kitchen table with a newspaper clipping. They guess that a killer this eager for attention would open with the word I. Betty guesses the word kill appears somewhere close to it. 20 hours of work. Then it breaks open. I like killing people because it is so much fun. The message describes murder as more thrilling than anything else in life. A hunt more exciting than shooting game because man is the most dangerous animal of all. It claims his victims will serve him as slaves in the afterlife. And at the very end, a signature. A circle bisected by a cross. He finally has a name. Zodiac. September 27th, 1969. Lake Berryessa, Napa County. 20-year-old Brian Hartnell and 22-year-old Cecilia Shepard are having a picnic on the shoreline when a man approaches, wearing a black hood, square at the top, with clip-on sunglass lenses over the eyes. Stitched to the chest, the same cross circle from the letters. He claims he's an escaped convict. He needs their car, their money. Then he asks them to lie down and ties them with rope. Once they can't move, he pulls out a knife. Hartnell survives 8 stab wounds. Cecilia dies 2 days later. Before he leaves, the man walks to Hartnell's own car. He picks up a marker. And on the driver's door, in plain view, He writes the dates of every attack so far. He wasn't hiding what he'd done. He was signing it. But beneath the hood was still the question police couldn't answer. Who was this man? 2 weeks later, October 11th, 1969, San Francisco, Presidio Heights. 29-year-old cab driver Paul Stein picks up a fare. The passenger directs him a few blocks off his route. Then, at close range, he's shot once in the head. The killer tears a strip of fabric from Stein's blood-stained shirt and takes it with him. 3 teenagers in a nearby house see him leaving the cab and call it in. Patrol cars are minutes away. Officers are already searching the neighborhood. And then, a mistake is made, one that may have changed the entire case. A radio dispatch describing the suspect goes out inaccurately, and officers end up searching for a man who doesn't match what witnesses actually saw. One patrol car reportedly passes the real suspect on foot, checks him against the wrong description, and drives on. He walks away, free. It is, by nearly every account, the closest the Zodiac ever came to being caught in the act. They may even have walked right past him, but they still didn't have his name. Paul Stein is the 5th and last victim ever officially attributed to the Zodiac. Investigators have long suspected he was responsible for others, including the unsolved 1966 stabbing of college student Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside. But only 5 deaths carry his name on the record. The letters keep coming. He mails the bloodied swatch of Paul Stein's shirt as proof it's really him. He threatens to shoot out a school bus tire and pick off children as they run. A threat that never happens, but one that helps inspire a scene in the 1971 film Dirty Harry. And in November 1969, he mails one more cipher. 340 symbols. Denser, stranger. No easy cribs to guess at. For decades, it resists everyone who tries it. Law enforcement, professional cryptographers, and amateur code breakers by the thousand, working nights and weekends for free, some for most of their adult lives. In December 2020, during COVID lockdown, 3 strangers working remotely finally crack it. A Virginia web developer named David Orenchak, an Australian applied mathematician, Sam Blake, a Belgian programmer, Jarl van Eyck, who had built custom cipher-solving software in his spare time. The FBI verifies their solution. And for a moment, it feels like this is it. 51 years of silence about to break. It doesn't. The message is just more taunting. The killer saying he isn't afraid of dying because it will only send him to paradise sooner, where he already has enough slaves waiting for him. No name, no confession, no address, just him laughing from 1969. The last confirmed Zodiac letter arrives in 1974. Then, nothing. No arrest, no body, no ending. Over the decades, more than 2,000 men have been investigated as possible suspects. One name comes up more than any other: Arthur Leigh Allen of Vallejo. A former acquaintance told police Allen had talked about killing couples before the murders started. He owned the same brand of watch as the one depicted on a Zodiac letter. He'd worked near several of the crime scenes. Lead investigator Dave Toschi considered him for years
his strongest lead. For a while, it looks like the case might finally close. But then, the problems start. Handwriting analysts compare Allen's writing to the killer's letters. It doesn't match. Investigators search his trailer. They find nothing that conclusively ties him to the murders. And in 2002, a partial DNA profile developed from material associated with a Zodiac letter is compared against him. It doesn't match. Though questions about the sample's quality and whether it ever really belonged to the killer kept the test from settling the case either way. He died in 1992, never charged, and never conclusively connected to the Zodiac crimes.
In 2021, a separate group of retired investigators, calling themselves the Case Breakers, announced a different name. Gary Francis Post, a house painter who died in 2018. Law enforcement agencies have not confirmed the claim, and other researchers who've spent decades on the case dispute it. Other names have come and gone. Some looked promising for a while. All of them, eventually, hit the same wall Allen did. As of today, the case remains officially unsolved. No agency has ever announced a resolution. No one has ever been arrested. No one has ever stood trial. Police had his handwriting, his letters, his ciphers, 2 of them eventually broken. Descriptions from survivors who looked him in the eye and lived, and more than 50 years to search. None of it produced the one thing everyone actually wanted: his real name. The one thing he never gave away remains exactly where he left it: unknown.